Hello, my name is Joseph. On October 28th, 2014, I tried to commit suicide. There were many factors, but it all started with a girl. Her name was Kayla, and she was my first love. We met in high school. I was transferred into her class. And instantly we shared a connection, or so I thought. I should have listened to the warnings, but she was the first girl that showed any interest in me. She had everything I look for in a girl, and I knew I had to ask her out. She was just coming out of a relationship, and I said that I would wait for her, because she was worth it. It didn't take long, and she caved in. I was so happy. After a few months, I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. So I bought a ring. I was so excited. I was going to propose on Valentine's Day. Little did I know my life was about to change forever. I got home from school and my aunt called. She told me to go to my room, lock the door, and don't ask any questions until she got there. She told me a police investigation was brought upon me for abusing someone. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had never laid a hand on anybody. Not even to fight back my mom's ex-boyfriend, who actually abused me for 10 years. DCS walked through the door with my mom, who left work early. We all sat in the living room and talked. The woman from DCS kept saying abuse, but never went into any detail. So my aunt finally asked what the accusations were. And my heart sank. At 16, I was being accused of sexual assault. I didn't know what to do. I cried myself to sleep. My girlfriend's mom didn't want me to see to her until all of it was resolved. Thankfully, the police found the case to be false, and it was dropped. I wasn't even questioned by the police. I finally got to see my girlfriend, and she proposed. And I proposed. And she said yes. I never thought I could be happier. And we showed the ring off to all our friends at school. I was so happy, but after a few months that all changed. You see, I was hearing impaired and she got tired of repeating herself. But I couldn't help it. I couldn't hear. What I didn't know was all the people who warned me were right. She was cheating on me behind my back and I was devastated. I had had enough and broke up with her. They say you never get over your first love, and I didn't. But there's always more where that came from. Rumors started around the school about the investigation. I was being called a rapist, but it didn't end at school. People called and left messages threatening my life. I was followed home and jumped, beaten, and attacked over and over. Some even tried breaking into the house to get to me. I don't bruise easily, so there was never any evidence for the cops. I developed post-traumatic stress disorder and told myself I couldn't go back. I dropped out of high school with only a semester left. I had flashbacks and hallucinations almost daily. My family thought that it was the worst decision of my life. They weren't around when all this stuff was happening to me. No one was. So it was just my word to go on, and it wasn't enough. And the depression and anxiety didn't help matters any. My father died in 2008, and after 10 years with the man who beat me senseless, she dumped him, my mom. She had met a new guy from work, and he seemed cool at first. But he was an ex-felon with aggravated assault and drug charges. I decided to give him a second chance, because all that stuff was in the past, right? After 3 months of knowing each other, they got married. My brother and sister, who were minors, were kicked out of the house a month later. My aunt took them in, and a month after, the day after my 18th birthday, I was kicked out as well. My grandparents took me in because I had nowhere else to go. This man had taken our mother away from us, and the family knew something was up. I met a woman through her fan page for my favorite singer and actor, Christian Kane. She became a mother figure to me when I needed my mom and she wasn't around. We soon adopted each other and still talk today. Outside of her, I only really had two friends that were still lived by, one of which is my homeboy and brother that I met in middle school. The other was a girl that I developed feelings for, but she didn't feel the same way. It had been over a year since I had broken up with my ex, and I felt alone because no girl even wanted to talk to me. I didn't want to bug my friends constantly with my problems, and one night I had had enough. I had just finished watching a movie that reminded me of my life and everything that I had been through. One of the bottles of my medication was sitting on the chair in front of me, and it was calling out. I had written the note to everyone I had cared about, and just as I put the first pill in my mouth, God told me to stop. It was all going to be okay, so I called the suicide prevention hotline, and eventually got a number for a support group called Depression Bipolar Support Alliance, and I called the guy who was running the branch at the time. He was a truck driver on his way back from Kentucky and didn't recognize my number, so I left a message. And my head went back to the bottle, right as my phone lit up. I attended my first meeting on October 30th, 2014, 2 days after I had attempted to take my life. A year later, I am now the president and CEO of the Midsouth chapter. I take calls 24/7 because I know at any moment someone may need me. And I've saved the lives of 52 people who were where I was, like I needed someone. And in my spare time, I write and perform spoken word poetry. I'm working on my first studio album about my life and fighting the good fight. And when the depression comes back, I think about my group. Because the only thought worse than taking my life is someone else taking theirs because they didn't have someone like me to talk to. This group saved my life, and now I get to save lives every day. This has been my story. Don't give up. Please go to dbsaalliance.org and find your local chapter. DBSA, we've been there. We can help.